Walaikum assalam. Okay, you can hear me fine?
Yes, yes.
Because I just realized my headphones aren't connected,
Oh, I can hear.
but it's okay.
You're good.
Perfect.
You're good. Got
Hi.
all this good lighting. You're good.
I know, isn't the lighting great? It's because I'm outside for like the first time in forever.
As we all.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Um, Thank you for joining us for At Your Service Hour.
Yep. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Like
Long,
you and Adam are some of
long
my faves.
time coming.
I
So I know that you can talk about 100 different topics and that we can learn from you for so many things, but I think that this topic specifically is one that so many people can learn from no matter where they are in life. And so give us a little background on your relationship with fashion and with design, and then when you really started to have that like rebirth moment of this career.
okay. Well, my mother, as a child, she did bridal, so I always saw her making the most beautiful, elaborate gowns. Oh my goodness, they were beaded. She also did ballroom dancing, like shimmy dresses, like those ballroom dancers. So I would just always watch her make these beautiful dresses, but I never had an interest because she was always stressed out. Like she was always complaining. Like when I tell you complaining, because she was always stressed out because it's just so much to do. Like she would do the whole wedding party, like not just the bride.
Which is like, I feel like as a designer now, can you relate to that?
Oh my goodness, I wouldn't listen. I don't even know how she. I take a lot of what I said back because I feel her pain now. I'm like, yo, she went through a lot to do that, but that's part of that passion process. But so I just didn't sew. So I didn't begin to sew until I became an adult, when I became a Muslim, and it was just so hard to find clothing that was modest enough and actually was chic enough. Like it wasn't cool enough. Like the clothes just were like, to me, back in the 90s, it was, I couldn't find any cool clothes. So I was like, I have to make stuff. Like, so I
So
think.
you started making your own modest clothing
Correct.
back then.
Yes, I started making like long skirts. I would really focus on skirts.
Hi, Brandon.
So I really just started focusing. Hi, Brandon. I just started focusing on skirts because that's what I would wear a lot, skirts, until I started having children. And so I just started making longer tops. And then I would make clothes for my daughters. Oh my God, I have the cutest picture of my daughter when I made her like a little coat with a hat. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. But
I
yes,
need to see that.
yeah. I so that's when I just started making clothes and just started sewing. So, and I said, oh, this is not bad. I like it. And then I started having children, and me being creative and me being just a restless type of person. And that's what I struggle with most, just being restless. My mother always said to me, she's like, I don't know who's going to marry you because you're all over the place. She's like, you're just totally, oh, you cannot sit still. So I just really like decided, okay, I'm going to do this. So I started sewing for like 4 people. And I did 4 people because these 4 people let me do whatever I wanted to do. Like I could make,
Who
they were
were
4 of
they?
my friends, just 4 of my
Oh, okay,
Muslim
okay, okay.
girlfriends. And they would just be like, okay, I'm looking for some garments. So I would just make 2-piece linen outfits or an abaya or whatever. So, and I was like, cool, because then I could let my creative abilities just go. I just really didn't like that whole custom thing. Just make this for me, that just didn't, but I did it, but I didn't like to. So with what those 4 women, I just was just making clothes for them. And then I started having issues within my marriage. So I was headed towards a divorce, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Because I didn't work for so long. Like when I got married, I started having children immediately, and I didn't work for like 20 years. I raised the 9 children that we had collectively. So after making that decision, like in that decision and in that time frame, that's when, like I said, I was sewing and stuff. So, but when the marriage was ending, it was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, how does this look for me? Do I start this brand? Do I go back to work? Because prior to marriage, I was working, and I was working in human resources. So I was just like, okay, do I do that again? But I have to start from the beginning. So it was just like, okay, what do I do? But I said, now that I know how to sew and I do it well, I'm just going to sew. So that's when I decided that this is what I'm going to do. But I didn't know what capacity. I didn't look at, okay, I'm going to have a brand. I'm going to be in stores.
I'm going to be on a TV
Right.
show.
No, not what, a TV show. I would never. So I just thought that I would just sew for a living. I would become a seamstress. You know, what most people get, seamstress and designer.
Did it give you joy?
It did. You know what? It was so incredible to see people with my clothes on. Like, I would see my girls say, oh my God, you look so nice. Like, it was just so, oh my God, you don't even know. And then when I would do a wedding gown, because I did wedding gowns, I did prom dresses, and like a wedding, like see someone get married in something that I made. Like, but then also I was hard on myself because I was like, oh my God, I could have did that better. Oh, I could have did this. Oh my God, that shouldn't look like that. Like,
how do you get over that?
You can't. You never get over it. It's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing. Like when you stop thinking about it,
yeah,
it just goes away. But like once it's there, it's just, you cannot get out of that moment. Like, it's so challenging to just look at yourself and be satisfied with yourself. It's just really, really difficult. So, but then once I got divorced, I said, okay, do I want to sell everything I have and buy a home? Like my cars, because I sold my cars, I sold everything I had to start this business. And I was skeptical because I was like, okay, do I buy a home and just work, or do I invest in this business? So I invested in a business. I just said, okay, I'm just doing it. And it failed. So horribly.
whoa.
Horribly. Like,
how do you get through that, especially like in such a moment of turmoil in your life?
When you're in it, you kind of really don't think about it. Like, you're kind of like, I have to figure something out
It's survival.
Exactly. You're in survival mode. You have children, you have things to do. Like, you have to figure it out. So you don't really like lay in it. And so it was just like, okay, I lost 10,000. Then I lost another 8,000. Like, so, but I was just making all the wrong choices. I was just making poor choice after poor. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. I had a studio that I had to pay rent every month. I had so much overhead, and I did New York Fashion Week, and I just didn't have it all together. I just didn't. So once it failed, I moved with my sister. And I was like, I got to start over, because at this point, I'm like, I have to figure this out, because it began to be my passion. It was my passion. And I knew I have 2 daughters, and I didn't want my daughters to look at me and say, my mom's a quitter. Like, she just quit. She just decided, I just wanted them to know that it's okay. This is okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to detour. It's okay. Like, it's going to be all right. I always talk about patiently persevering. Like, I am being very, very patient with myself. It's hard. It's not easy. It's challenging. I have good days. I have bad days. But I always make sure that I reflect and say, listen, you have to be patient in the good and in the challenging. You just have to be patient. So I just had to just keep pushing through and just keep, just saying it's going to be okay and it's going to work out. So, and that's kind of like around, like, a couple of years had passed, and then the whole Project Runway thing came about. So that's when, like, I wasn't going to apply for Project Runway. Definitely. I had no intention.
How did that come about?
So what happened was, Project Runway, I guess they send out blast about whoever's interested.
Yeah.
Right. So a friend sent my information to them and they emailed me. So once they emailed me, I was like, what? Where'd you get my information from? And they were like, well, we like stuff. And I was like, I said, I know what Project Runway is about. This is a no. This is like a no. I'm okay. No, I watched the show for several seasons. I'm okay because I just didn't want to put myself in a position of an entertainment reality show that it seemed to be. Because to me, that's what it appeared to be. So, but then again, I sat and I reflected and I was like, yo, how many people watch this show per week? In addition to this could fast track me and give me that exposure I need.
That's how we found you.
Right. So everyone can see that I'm a great designer. So I was like, well, you know what? I'll do it. So I went through that grueling process and I got on the show. So, but it was so surreal. Like you get there and you see this sign that says Project. You're like, am I actually about to be on television? I'm about to expose my entire life to the world. Like, did I make a mistake? So,
but let me ask you though, like, not aside from just doing Project Runway, or I will say, in the moment that you were doing Project Runway, did you ever think to yourself that you have an upper hand because of the wisdom you've accumulated, like the life wisdom you've accumulated before really pushing through this like not new passion, but newly revived passion for fashion?
In a way, because I think that based on my wisdom and my patience in raising children and my life experiences, it gave me the tools to fight. It gave me those tools to deal with those failures. It gave me the tools to know how to communicate with people. Because when I talk to young designers or designers in general, I always talk about the total package. You can't just have one aspect and think that you're going, unless you have Beyonce wear something. But outside of that, you have to have a total package. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to relate to people. You have to have good character. You have to be different. Like all of these things you have to be successful, because that's just how this industry is. And for me, I had that upper hand because I looked different. I was older. I knew how to communicate. Like I had all of those tools. So I think that was to my benefit. But I also think that people just, because of my age, they look at you as, okay, you're old, you don't know what you're doing, you're not even going to be innovative, you're not going to be interesting, you're going to be bored. Like they just already have in their mind that an older person won't fit. An older person won't work because, at the end of the day, like I am in the second phase of my life. I'm heading towards that place where, we're all going to get to. So I'm closer to that. So they're looking at it like she can't help me because she's older. I need someone young who can help me and build this or make this or put me in a position to be better for the long, long haul. You know what I'm saying? So I think that people tend not to give older people a chance or an opportunity based on their own mindset or their life experiences of not believing that we have something to offer or something to bring to the table.
Isn't that a form of ageism?
Correct. Correct.
And it's so but what's so wild to me is that, and I think about this with like really young children and older people. I feel like the bulk of wisdom exists in those moments. Like children who see the world so purely and people who have gone through life experiences that we haven't had yet.
Right.
And where do you think the disconnect between people in the middle of their career, in the middle of pursuing their passion and trying to find answers, around people who are very similar to them, where's the disconnect between those folks and then those people finding answers from people who are different than them, people who are older or younger than them. Like, there just doesn't seem like there's that sense of unity that is needed for all of us to kind of push forward.
Right. And I think, once again, because there's such a lack of older people within the business. There's like, once you get to a certain point, like right now, there's so many younger people that are in the business, so many amazing designers that are young and that are relatable. So if you're not relatable, or if you're one of these larger designers and you're older and you're not relatable and you can't connect, or they're looking at you like younger people are looking at you in their way. So that's a disconnect. Because even when you look at history, when there's such a large gap, there's a big disconnect, so they can't relate. So it's like, okay, how do I get this person to relate to all of these things that happened in the 60s, when they can't, their mindset is not even there. They can't, they don't even understand or get it. So it's a challenging thing. But I think, as I said, when my ex-husband was in education, and I used to talk to teachers, and what I would tell them to do was put a picture of yourself when you were in that grade, put it at the door, so the child can understand and see that you had a similar experience, that you know what it's like to be in third grade. Like, you know what it's like to be a teenager. You look funny. You had that awkward moment,
Oh my God, I love this.
Because if when they can relate to you, then they're like, oh my gosh, she understands, she gets me. Now I can open up.
Yeah.
Now I can talk to her. And I said, so having that within you to care and say, you know what, I'm an educator within a system that I know nothing about, but I can go in here and I can ask them questions. I used to tell the teacher, when your class comes in, do you ask, is everyone okay? Did everyone have a rough night yesterday? Just put your head down for 5 minutes if you had a rough night. Just take a minute, because I don't want to have to call on you, and then because you're not feeling well, or you're going through something, and you're just like, and now I'm angry because you didn't answer, or you're being rude because you had a rough night. You may not have had dinner. You may not have saw your parents last night. Like, there's all these variables in education and building and having these connections with younger people, older people with younger people. But they have to know that they can relate and trust you. You can relate to me. You understand me. You understand my plight. I said, visit some of the community centers, like all of these things that would give these children a better understanding. So that's what I know how to do as a mature woman. That's what I know how to do. My children always tell me, they would always bring friends over. Mom, please, not another lecture.
I love your lectures. Your lectures are my favorite.
So their friends would be like, no, I love it. Your mom's amazing. Like, my mom doesn't talk to me. Oh my God, your mom is. So they would get really excited, because, as I said, I knew that in order to make an impact, I had to make it relatable. I had to let them know that I understand. And I think if older people do that more consistently, especially when dealing with things, or people that you know nothing about, or issues,
Right.
it becomes easier. It becomes.
Do you think that is a lesson that transcends industries? If we're talking about pursuing your passion later in life, like, is that a mindset?
Yes, it is. It is, because people don't believe that it can happen, because it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen, or people don't change. You know how many people sacrifice their spirit and their soul to and stay in jobs that they hate, that they despise, dealing with people that and some have to do it out of necessity. Some don't. I was just reading about anthropology and all the stuff that's going on with them about racism, and listening to the women have to hear the codes for African Americans when they come in the store, but they not quit. I'm feeling like I was just feeling hurt just listening to the fact that they had to listen to that, and knowing the necessity for them to need a job, but they have to consistently hear somebody telling them, oh, the code, a Nick just walked in, what? So I think people out of, sometimes it's necessity, but sometimes it's fear. It's just so much fear. And I tell people all the time, I have to be honest, like, I had the ability to take risks financially, in a sense. I was willing to risk it all, but I had somewhere to live after. Like, I lived with my sister, so I had somewhere to live. I wasn't going to be homeless. So I tell people all the time, if you feel as though you risking it all was cause you to be homeless, or you can't eat, or you can't provide, don't do it. You take your time, you test the waters, see what's out there, how it looks, see if I want to design, see if I want to pattern and make, see if I want to be an assistant. Don't leave the industry, but just test it, because sometimes you don't always end up where you thought you would end up. You may thought you wanted to be a designer, but now you're designing accessories, or whatever the case may be. But just test the waters. Just take a minute and just, be patient and say, you know what, I'm gonna test these waters, because most of us don't have that opportunity financially to say, I'm risking it all. I'm just going all in, because some people do say that, and I was on panels and I was in disagreement, because it's okay for you to say risk it all because someone's paying your mortgage. But if someone doesn't have that person that backing financially to take those type of risks, I just wouldn't suggest it. But some people do it anyway.
But if they don't have that option, then what is the option for somebody in that?
It can happen organically, because guess what? Say I'm working, right? And I'm making pants on the side. Okay, the process takes longer, because I can still have a website, I can still make pants, I can still manufacture. You actually have the resources to invest in the business to allow the business to grow. You may have to outsource more than normal, but don't try to do what I did, that's one of the ways I lost a lot of money. Make an entire collection and can't produce it, because you have no sourcing, you have no manufacturer, you have nothing, but you just did a 15-piece collection. No, if you specialize, make pants or make skirts. Just make 3 things.
So like smaller steps.
Exactly.
Which I feel like are more sustainable anyway.
Exactly.
Because you learn as you go.
Exactly. Because once that organic process, and you're building the community around your brand, you're building and it's happening naturally and organically, and it's happening at your pace, because you always need to know that capacity and what you want to be. The end goal, you have to work from that end goal. Like, if you want to be in stores, okay, work from that end goal. If you want to just work from home, if you just want to work in your household, know that end goal, and you work back from that end goal. You have to know the end goal, though. I didn't know the end goal. So that's why I was making mistakes, because what was my end goal? What was I going to do?
Oh, Renee. I'm changing this to the pep talk we all need. This is, I have so much love for you. I love and I admire you, and I learn from you so much. I can't thank you enough for everything.
You're so welcome. Listen, and I learned, and that's the cool part of young people. As I told
Adam said, stop trying to steal Renee from me. I've been trying to steal Renee from you.
Listen, as I told Adam, I learned from young people all the time, and that's why it's so important. I don't think any of my friends are over 40, and I'll be 54. So young people,
you need to be friends with my mom. That's how my mom is.
Yeah, every age group.
My mom sits at the kids' table.
Right. It doesn't, why should I be afraid? Why? Who says that it's a law that I can't be friends with somebody who's 25 or 27 or 40 or 70? One of my friends is in her 70s. Who said this? But people, oh my God, you're friends.
Yeah.
You know, people just get so caught up in these things. And it's a process to get over that, though. I will say that. It's a process to be so comfortable within yourself, to break all
Mm,
those barriers. Like me wearing flame Vans and someone's like, "Girl, okay, you don't like them, don't look at them." Like, what? I'm wearing them. Like,
I love your outfits.
yeah, so
But you're not wearing camo today, so
no.
I'm thrown off.
I I was actually going to wear camo, but I said I'm not going to wear camo today. But yeah,
Okay.
so people, women, older women tell me, "Oh, I can never pull that off, Renee. Oh my God, I could never do that." And I was like, yes, you could. You just have to build the confidence. You have to just trust that this is something you want to do. But because we're always judged so much, it's so hard to deal with all this stuff that we deal with on social media and people just being so mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. That's hard for most people. Like, I know you get it all the time because I'll be wanting to come for people in your post, but I was like, I'm not going to do that. So, but so you kind of get where sometimes it's like it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, to just deal with.
It's also very unnatural. It's not what we were made for. I was reading yesterday in Gia Tolentini's book. I hope I can remember the line. I probably can't remember the line, but she said something about like how we have like we're at that primal state. We're back to that primal state where there's like hyper awareness, and we're always like watching our backs and we're looking around. But the sensory overload, like our minds are the input that we are putting into ourselves from the internet is something we were never made to take in.
Exactly.
So it's like you have that hyper awareness where like when we were, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, just trying to survive. But now sensory overload, you were constantly bombarded with videos and photos and articles and like just toxicity of opinions. And there's just, we way overvalue opinion today.
Way.
And we're just human. It's just so, it's
Yeah.
like how we were never supposed to take things in like this.
No, never. And that's the challenge. So as like, that's why I also talk about taking a moment for self-care, because it's like you have to, I have within my family, there's some mental illness, and it's like you have to fight for yourself. Like you have to fight these battles, because if not, you'll just end up sick and you'll end up just in a bad position. So self-care, I try to always, and it's hard because you just engulf yourself in what you do. But just taking at least 5 minutes to just sit and reflect and take it all in and just be like, you know what? I am so grateful that I'm able to look and see and understand. Like, it could be so different for me. That's why I always talk about it, because at this point in my life, I never thought all of these things that have happened to me would happen. And I'm just so grateful that they have happened. And I just keep trying to be better, and just at being a mom, at being a designer, like all of those things. Like my husband always talk about reflection, and I learned that from him. Like he reflects often, so I begin to really, really reflect a lot.
Well, I'll tell you something. After this, I'll text you this podcast that Adam and I listened to. It's 2.5 hours, but it has been so transformative. I'm going to listen to it like 10 more times. But one of the things that the guy mentioned was when we are experiencing fear or anger or sadness, it is so important for us to sit with the fear and basically do like a check-in with ourselves and say, where am I feeling this in our body? What am I feeling? There's a list of questions he says, but he said it's so important for you to, for instance, if your stomach is aching, if your chest is tight, if you feel in the back of your throat, the tension in your jaw, let your body experience that feeling for 1 to 2 minutes, because what happens is when we go through that fear or we go through that feeling, our body comes online, and we are supposed to let that feeling course through our body and then like take care of it and go through it. He said, this is what was so shocking to me. He said, what happens is people repress it or suppress it, and they push it down, they put it away, and your body internalizes that, and those feelings are stored in those positions, in those places, physically stored in your body, so much so that over the years, not only does your mood change, but even your posture changes, right, and the way your body is shaped changes because you did not let yourself feel those feelings. Right. And when I heard that, I was just like, I immediately thought of myself, and then I thought of the people that I love around me, who I know exactly their moods and their postures and the way that they move, and I know it's because they have unmanaged trauma and feelings that they have not let themselves go through. And there is a process to do it. Like, I'm the type of person who I need step-by-step process on how to deal with things like this. And he gave step-by-step, and it was so relieving for me. So literally since I've heard this, which was like 2 days ago, I take like a pause every time I feel something, and I ask myself the questions, and I walk myself through it. And yesterday I thought of something, I remembered something that, it was like one of the things that has hurt me the most in my life, and it popped up into my head because I realized something about it, and I started like feeling panicked, and I felt like a tightness in my, Adam literally went to go get coffee. I was sitting in the car by myself in the matter of like 5 minutes, and I let myself feel the feeling, and it was so overwhelming, but I was able to like hold my subconscious's hand through it, and I'd never experienced that. Right. I was like, wow, if I did this 3 years ago, I wouldn't have had to like stay on the couch for months because I didn't know what to do because I was like suppressing this. It's just, there are so many tools and things that we can do and learn and implement. So even when you talk about self-care and sitting and reflecting, there are actual methods to how we heal and deal with the stuff that's happening. Exactly. Like, exactly. I just feel so passionately about that.
Yeah, exactly. Because once those things hit, as you said, you have to take them in, you have to let them affect you, but you can't let them stay there. You have to release them. Like, you have to release them. I told my children, my daughters, I said, listen, because they talk about headaches. And I said, when I have a headache, sometimes I lay down and I pretend that there's someone in my head with like one of those big brooms pushing the headache through my eyebrows, like literally just pushing all the pain and removing it.
Wait, this works?
Oh my God. It so works for me.
Stop.
Because I kind of like, because I used to read books about consciousness. So I would always think about like the sun being on the tip of my eyelash, or like being so conscious in the moment and like really like thinking about like these things consciously affecting me. So I literally am so conscious of things, and I would talk to my subconscious, and I would be like laying in the bed, listen, it's time for you to go to sleep. So just go to sleep. Like, that's what we're doing right now. So, and I would go to sleep. Like, I would literally like kind of be,
that's aware, what we're doing.
Like, I would be aware of the fact that I know my natural defense mechanism is coming now. Like, this is natural for us to have this defense mechanism that whenever something happens, we just go into defense mode. That's our natural makeup. So I would always
you're gonna love this podcast. I'm gonna send it to you, and you're gonna love it so much.
And then too, I began over time to know myself. So I would know, this is not you. You don't behave this way. You don't feel this way. You're a happy person. You're not sad. You don't sit and sulk.
Yes.
That's not what you do. So you have to figure out, how am I going to fight through this? So I get up anyway. I get up and I fight through, because this is just not me. I'm so conscious of that, okay, this is not you. So now you know you have to make a move, because this is not what you do. You make moves. You do things. And I think a lot of times, especially women, especially Black women, like, we're all programmed, like, we got to be this boss. We got to be doing this. We got to just be like superwoman all the time. And that's not realistic. Like, for me, being a superwoman is actually managing balancing what I have to do, what is necessary for me to live a healthy, prosperous life. Like, I have to be able to balance that. My children, my spouse, my work, all of that. That's the superwoman, not me staying up 16 to 20 hours working. That's not, no, because now I've neglected my spouse. He didn't eat. I neglected my children. I didn't make phone calls, like all of those things. And sometimes those things will happen, but overall, you just try to manage those things. But I think for us women, it's so hard because they make it so hard for us to we have to like be twice as good. Like, we always have to go over and beyond the call of duty. So I think that's what, messes up with this whole concept of you just being such a super woman. And you're, and I'm not, and like I said, for me, this is just my opinion about being a superwoman. Some women think differently, but for me, being a superwoman is actually balancing my life and making sure my life is a good life, is a healthy life, is a prosperous life. Like, that's what I need for me. So that's, to me, is a superwoman. So I just try to manage that. And it's hard. Like, people don't understand. Life is hard. No one who said it was going to be easy. Like, no, but we try to make it as easy and comfortable as we can. But it's always going to have its challenges. And that's why our coping skills are so important, because we have to be able to manage and cope with all of that comes within our marriages, within our jobs, all of those things. How do we cope with that? Because all of those things are coming. They're coming. So how do I cope? And I just have to figure out, building those coping skills. How do I cope with this when it happens, with that when it happens? How do I cope? And sometimes it works.
Well, you mentioned reading about consciousness. This is one of the themes in the podcast that I was talking about is about shifting from a victim consciousness. And so I are you familiar with the to me, by me, as me, or through me, as me consciousness, like levels of consciousness?
No.
Well, so what you were saying is, like, obviously life is hard, and we have to figure out how to get through it. But what I'm learning consistently is how much of that is in our power and how much of that is in our mindset. And so what we learned last night was shifting the mindset from to me, oh, this is happening to me, and you're putting yourself in the position of a victim. This thing is happening to me, and so I don't know what to do because everything is always happening to me, to shifting it to by me, and figuring out, like, what is your role in this? What can you take responsibility for? What can you change? And then it was to me, by me. And then the most spiritual part is through me, right, which is basically surrendering control and trusting and letting things happen through you, letting things flow through you, so that when things happen by you, you can have that sense of control and things can happen structurally and stuff. But once you manage to let things happen through you, you are essentially, your mindset is that of which allows you to be more free, and the creativity is limitless. The possibility is limitless, and you're growing as a person because you've realized, like, you're tapped into something way bigger than just you.
Correct.
But I think the hardest step for so many of us is stepping away from that to me mentality, that things are happening to you, that life is hard to you, because everybody is going through things, and things are hard, and that doesn't take away from when things happen to you or when your boundaries have been violated and whatever. But we still hold power over our minds, and it's the hardest thing to do, but just shifting away from that so that we are able to get through the times that are really difficult, and so that we are open to the blessings that can come our way.
Yes, 110% true. I mean, we definitely don't understand the power of our minds, like our brain. Like, we just don't understand that power, because I'm always telling my children that, as far as look at it as a positive and not a negative, like just thinking positive thoughts.
Yep.
Always try to be positive. And I'm not saying that the situation is not negative, because it is, but how you think of it and look at it as a positive and make the necessary changes. And as you said, with the accountability and saying, okay, listen, I need to make the necessary changes, or I need to make changes within me to look at this in a positive light, because it's easy.
Right.
It's easy to be negative. It's so easy. That's the easy part. But us being,
it's so easy.
Listen, but us being uncomfortable in that positive spot, that's what, being uncomfortable is so hard. I mean, it was hard for me. Like, I struggled with a lot of things personally with trying to make necessary changes and being in an uncomfortable space, because it's hard to be uncomfortable. But you just have to know that, listen, I would tell, just like my husband, I would tell him, listen, this is going to seem forced. And that's what, like, with the whole dynamics going on now, like,
yes,
things are going to be forced. So you have to allow it to get to where it's natural and organic, because it's going to be forced, because it never happened before. So it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be forced. It's going to look, it's not going to look genuine. It's not going to look genuine. It's going to, like, it's just, that's,
but you have to move through that.
Exactly. So you have to say to yourself, okay, how do I get through this uncomfortable feeling? Because everybody's going to be uncomfortable. Everybody's going to be uncomfortable. So,
but that's where growth is.
Bingo. That's exactly. So, yeah.
I love you.
Love you too. You're fun.
Thank you so much. I know this ran a little bit longer, but
it's okay.
I think that this is the pep talk that everybody, myself included, needed.
Yes. We all.
So my last question
need
to you,
a pep talk every once in a while. We all do.
We all need a Renee Hill pep talk.
Yeah. Oh, so you know what? Maybe I'll do pep talks with Renee.
I think that would blow up. I think that would be huge.
Maybe that's what.
We can talk about that offline.
Okay.
How can we all support you and your work?
Okay. Well, I have, if you go to my Instagram, Heart Store, or I am Renee Hill, I have an actual Zoom coming up.
It's I am the Renee Hill though, right?
Yeah, I know. I get it wrong all the time. I am the Renee Hill, because someone else, there's so many Renee Hills out there. Okay. I am the Renee Hill in Heart Store. I have a Zoom coming up, and it's called What Not to Do in Fashion. All those things that I talked about in the beginning, what I did, I don't want you to do. So, and that's on the 23rd.
That's awesome.
My website, my e-commerce website should be up on July 1st. So everyone go to the landing page and put your emails in so you can get newsletters and information about that. Yeah, that's about it. But
Thank you.
I'm so glad we had the chance to talk. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this platform is yours whenever you want, because we could all use your wisdom.
Well, thank you. I hope everyone loved it. I hope all of you loved it. I don't.
Yeah, I felt like the comments in this were so sincere and so loving.
Oh, thank you.
And I can't wait to post this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee.
You're welcome. Thank you. Love you. See, we'll
love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
That was I am the Renee Hill. That was probably one of my favorite conversations. So I feel like everybody who tuned into this live, we had a really special moment. And I'm so happy that you all listened to this. Make sure you go support her work. And I will see you all next week. Have an amazing weekend. Of course, I'm going to save it, inshallah. I'm going to try it right now. Okay. Love y'all. Bye.